welcome back to my channel. This is not a video that I planned on recording, but due to the circumstances, I just figured this is probably the best way to get my story out there, or my family story, especially because we have been getting non-stop questions, a lot of the same questions. So I just wanted to put it all in a video so that way it's all out there and hopefully everybody watches it. So for those of you that don't know, myself, my mom, and my dad have all tested positive for the coronavirus, COVID-19. My mom actually also tested positive for influenza B, so she also has had the flu. So it's been crazy. So it all started, what's today? I want to say actually today is 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, my mom woke up with a really bad sinus headache and just a lot of sinus issues, drainage, stuff like that. And so she had contacted her doctor and told them that she thought she had a sinus infection. And because of the whole coronavirus thing, they didn't want her to actually go in to get checked. They kind of just diagnosed her over the phone. And because she said oh, well, it's just my sinuses, whatever, they were okay, we're gonna give you antibiotics for a sinus infection. So just take that, and that's it. So she got her antibiotics and she started taking that. Those of you that don't know, I have started doing DoorDash. So I was working, I was going out, I was just working, and oh my gosh, it's hot, sorry. And so first, my mom started getting different symptoms, and she started not really having an appetite, or losing her sense of taste and smell. And so she called her doctor, and her doctor was no, it's normal, it's all part of the sinus infection, that's what happens when you have a sinus infection, it's all your sinuses. So my mom was okay. So she just kept going on, whatever. And then I had read an article of a list of things that they were saying was symptoms of the coronavirus. So I showed it to my mom, and she's I have this, I have this, I have this, I have that. And I was I think you need to tell your doctor that you want to get checked because this isn't good. So finally last week she was okay, I'm gonna tell them. So she went, got tested. Literally the next day they told her, yes, you're positive for COVID-19 and for influenza B. So at that point, that's when we all started freaking out. Okay, so sorry, rewind. So before she even got tested last Saturday, which was the 4th, April 4th, that night I was feeling achy, my body was aching. I had chills. And I was uh-oh, this isn't good. But my mom just gave me some pill and to help with the body aches. And she's here, just take this, whatever, it's going to knock you out. So sure enough, I fell asleep. I woke up the next day and I felt fine. The only thing that I had was a stuffy nose. But I was oh, it's probably just allergies. And I was fine. I didn't feel achy anymore. My body didn't hurt, nothing. I was totally fine. So that was Saturday, and then Sunday, yeah, I was fine. And then same thing, Monday, I was totally fine. It was still just a stuffy nose, I just felt kind of I had a cold, but not even that serious. It was literally just a stuffy nose. So I was I'm not sick. I don't know, I could possibly have a slight cold. That's all I felt. It wasn't I had all these symptoms. So anyway, so then yeah, that's when my mom got tested. She tested positive. So that's when we started freaking out, and we're like, okay, like now we all need to take precautions. Like at that point, we kind of just said like, okay, all of us have it. Like we have to have it because we've been in the same house together. Like there's no way around it. Like we've been close to each other, you know? So we weren't going to get tested, but then my dad wanted to get tested. So he at that point like hadn't had any symptoms, like nothing at all. My dad suffers from asthma, so that's one of the main reasons why the doctors and we were kind of pushing him to get tested, just to make sure, because it's very dangerous when you have asthma. Yeah, like he was fine, totally fine. So even my mom was like, he can't have it. Like he hasn't had any symptoms. He hasn't been sick, like nothing. So we were like, well, we'll see. So he goes to get tested last week, and sure enough, they called back, like, I want to say it was the next day, and they were like, you also tested positive for COVID. So we're like, okay, great. So that means I have to get tested. So at that point, I'm definitely like in my head, like I have this shit. Like there's no way around it, dude. Like I have it. And I kind of was like not freaking out about it, just because I was like, I've already clearly been living with it, you know, like, and I've been okay. So once they tell me that I have it, the only thing that's going to change is that, like, it's been confirmed that I have it, you know? So I was really trying not to freak out. So, sorry if I have to catch my breath. That's what happens. That's what I've been struggling with. So, this past Thursday is when I finally went to go and get tested, and they tested me for strep throat, the flu, and for COVID. One thing I will say, I know a lot of people are scared of the test, and that's one of the questions that my mom has gotten a lot, so I wanted to talk about it. Okay. So I've been blessed, like my mom, I guess I got it from her, like we handle pain fairly well. But I don't know. So I just don't want to downplay the test, but I also don't want you guys to like freak out about it and not want to get tested just because of what you've heard about it, because it's really not as bad as people say. Like I promise you, it's not. It's a Q-tip, a long skinny Q-tip that they stick up your nose, and it's like really fast. The person typically just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they pull it out, and that's it. Like you just feel a slight little burning, like, you know, like when you have to sneeze and it gets like stuck in there, you're just like, oh, like that's how it feels. Like it's just like a little burning up there, super freaking fast, and then that's it. They take it out and you move on with your life. The same thing if you've ever gotten tested with the flu, they do the same thing with the flu. They do a Q-tip swab in your nose. The only thing is with the flu, they don't go up so high. With the COVID, they do go up a little bit higher. My mom swears that she felt it like all the way in her brain. I didn't. It wasn't that bad. But regardless, I would do it again to make sure, you know, like that's how not bad it was. Like that's how okay it was. So don't be scared of the test, because it's really not that bad. And for the reasoning behind it, like it's worth it. It's 2 seconds of uncomfortableness, and then that's it. You get over it, you move on with your life, and you find out whether you have this freaking virus or not. So anyways, that was Thursday when I got tested. They called me I'm lying. So that same day when I was there getting tested, they right away were able to tell me that I tested negative for the flu and for strep. So at that point I was like, okay, I don't just have a cold or the flu, because then I started thinking like with the body aches and stuff, I was like, maybe I have the flu, fingers crossed. So when they told me that, that's when I was like, okay, for sure, like I have COVID. Like there's, what else do I have, you know? So yeah, they called me this past Saturday, and they told me, you know, yes, you do have it also. And I was like, okay. So that's how we all found out that we had it. Now, what we've been doing. So I obviously have my old room where I used to stay when I lived with my parents. My mom has been staying in her and my dad's room, but locked in there by herself. And then my dad, he has still been having to work from home. So he has his little office in our guest room downstairs. And that's where he is typically throughout the day. And then to sleep, he sleeps up in my sister's room where she stays when she comes to visit. So we've all been quarantined on our own, away from each other. The only mutual space that we share at some point during the day is the kitchen. Unfortunately, we can't all have our own kitchen. But we do share that. But one thing that has been very important for us, and that my mom has like had to really push me and my dad on, because we just kind of get lazy, is disinfecting everything at all times. Like literally the counter after you sit there and eat. We wash all the dishes with bleach, like we spray them with Clorox, and then obviously use soap and wash them to disinfect them. All the door handles, everything that we touch, like we're constantly disinfecting it. You know, just like making sure we clean up after ourselves, so that way we don't like just keep reinfecting ourselves, because that is one thing that the doctor who told me that I was positive, she said that we have to be careful with that, the fact that we all have it, and say my mom was infected first, so she more than likely will heal first. So we just have to be careful that she doesn't get reinfected from our germs after she heals, because we're not being clean and stuff, you know? So that's really important. That's something that we've been doing a lot. Another thing is drinking hot teas. We drink chamomile tea, and my mom also drinks té de hierba buena. I don't know how to say that in English. Oh, okay. So té de hierba buena is spearmint tea. So we drink chamomile, which is té de manzanilla, and then spearmint, which is té de hierba buena. So we do, well, my mom does more of the hierba buena, and I just do the chamomile tea. The hotness, they say, is really good. Supposedly that it like kills the virus, but I don't believe that. I think the only reason why they say that is because since it is like an issue with your lungs and like your chest, you know, the hotness like helps loosen everything up in there. So it's also really good as a precaution to do, to, you know, just make sure that that stays clear, like that passageway, and that your lungs just stay, you know, healthy. So yeah, that's one of the main things that we've been doing, drinking hot teas, or like I'll do a hot coffee in the morning. What else? We've been drinking a lot of vitamin C, so a lot of orange juice. What else? My tia bought us the emergency gummies, so that way we can also get extra vitamin C in us. My mom has been eating those airborne, is that what they're called? Airborne gummies, like to help prevent you from getting sick or whatever, like from anything airborne. Duh. What else? So one thing that was said as far as what you can or can't take with the virus was they recommended Tylenol only. Tylenol extra strength. They said you can't do Advil or ibuprofen or Excedrin, whatever, like those other pills. They said you can only take Tylenol, and you can do the extra strength to really help. So that's what we had been doing, like when I would get, or when we would get fevers, headaches, body aches, like we were taking the Tylenol extra strength, and that was really helping. But yesterday, and I'll get more into detail about this story. But I went to the hospital, and the doctor, the ER doctor, actually told me that, this is a new virus. This is something that nobody has dealt with before. They have done, not even doctors have seen this before. So they're learning as they're dealing with patients, just like we're learning on how to take care of ourselves and how to prevent it and how to get rid of it, things like that. So when it first came out, they did say, yes, you cannot have anything other than Tylenol. But now they have realized that you can also take, or not also, but you can take Advil, ibuprofen, those other things to help with the pains and aches and stuff like that, to help you get over it. Again, this is coming from a doctor. This isn't just like, oh, me, because I tried it and it worked. Like, no, I was in the hospital yesterday and they specifically told me that you can take that, whether it's as preventative measures or to help you, like, while you're actually like getting through the virus. Another thing that was recommended to me as a preventative measure and also to like help is Sambucol Cold and Relief. So that glare is me. Sambucol. They're these little tablets. They're dissolving tablets. You just put it on your tongue and you let it dissolve. And they're for cold and flu relief. But they're natural, so it's okay to take them with other things. There's also a liquid a liquid version that you can take, but we got the dissolving tablets. And that has seemed, I think, to also help. I started taking it once I knew I was already sick, so I can't really say like, much, but I do recommend it just because it's natural and, just as a preventative measure, because again, I know a lot of people are really scared and nervous about catching it. I've been getting a lot of questions about like what I felt and things like that, which I will also get into. But anyways, so that's another thing that we've been taking. I personally have started taking Mucinex, the blue one that helps decongest the chest, because I don't know if it's the fact that I smoke cigarettes, and that's why my chest has gotten hit so hard. This is, for those of you that don't know, this virus does target and affect specifically your lungs. It's a pulmonary disease, a pulmonary virus. So that's like the first place that it wants to attack. So that's why they say that it hits a lot harder for people that smoke and for people that have asthma, because your lungs tend to be weaker than somebody who doesn't smoke or have asthma. So, if you smoke or if you do have asthma, please, please, please take extra precautions. The second, if you're a smoker, and the second that you feel like you may even start getting sick, please stop smoking, because it does not make it any better. I promise. If anything, I think I just made myself worse for smoking up until the point that I did. But anyways, so I started taking Mucinex to help loosen up my chest. Let me get into the whole chest thing real quick. So, like I said, this virus is something that targets specifically your lungs. So, I, for the past few days, probably since like last Wednesday, I want to say, like when we all started finding out that we had this, I started feeling my chest like tight, and I kept like getting short of breath, like literally just from walking from my room to my mom's room, or from my bathroom to my bed. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, like I felt like I had went running, like my chest, and I just like have to stand there and like catch my breath, or like I start getting lightheaded and I'm like, oh shit, like this is scary. Like you start getting dizzy and I'm like, okay, and I have to breathe through it. And also anxiety doesn't help at all. It kind of goes hand in hand. It feels like the same thing, like when you're having an anxiety attack. So it's just like you have to just sit there and calm yourself down, whether it's from walking or from anxiety, but it's just a pain in the ass. But anyway, so I had been struggling with that, and I started doing a breathing treatment that my cousin had given me with the nebulizer. And at first I felt like it was kind of helping me, because after I would finish, like I would feel my cough get like productive, so I was like, okay, this is helping. But then it was weird because like after a while it was like I would feel my chest get even tighter and I was like having a harder time breathing. So I was like, okay, maybe this isn't helping me. So yesterday morning when I woke up, I felt like I was struggling even more to breathe. And but I was like, okay, like it's just part of the sickness, deal with it, whatever, like you have been the past few days. So I was just going through the day, we were watching a movie, and like I just still like I started getting frustrated because I felt how tight my chest was. And I was like, okay, this is getting annoying. Like, I don't like this anymore. Like, this is frustrating me. And I had remembered reading, like, as part of the symptoms that, like, once something about, like, your breathing, like, if you're really struggling and if you feel your lips, like, are losing color, or, like, even turning blue or purple, like, to obviously go to the ER. So, I hadn't really paid much attention to it, but I had came upstairs and I was gonna take a shower, like to see if I could feel better. And my mom had also said that like the steam like from the super hot water should help like loosen everything up. So I was like, okay, I'll try that. So I came upstairs and I'm like looking in the mirror and my lips were like white. Like I kid you not, like they had, like right now they have a little bit more color, but my lips were white. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went over like to call my mom and I was like, Mom, my lips are white. Like I'm not getting enough oxygen. I read about this. Like something's wrong with me. Like I need to go to the hospital. So she's like, well, if you go to the hospital, you're going by yourself because we can't go with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I started freaking out. So she's like, just take a shower, see if the steam helps you. And then if not, we'll call the hospital and see what they recommend. So I'm like, okay. Whew. So I get into the shower, like trying to suck up all the steam, and still it's not helping. If anything, I started feeling even more like lightheaded from like all the heat. So I'm like, I need to get out of here. And like I'm in the shower and I like start having a panic attack because I'm already thinking, you know, like I'm gonna stop breathing, like I'm gonna, or you know, thinking like I'm gonna be in the hospital, they're gonna have me with these machines, like I'm gonna, you know, like just the worst, like thinking the worst. So I'm like literally having a panic attack in the shower by myself, and I'm like screaming and crying, and then I like start feeling like I can't breathe even more because number one, it's hot in the shower. Number two, I'm crying, so I'm like blocking my nasal passages and I can barely breathe through my mouth. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I like told myself like, bitch, you need to calm down because you're for real about to die. So I breathed it out, got out of the shower, whatever, and I went downstairs and I just sat there and like I just told my parents like I'm scared, like this is scary, and I just started crying. So my mom called the ER and they were like, you can either call an ambulance or one of you guys can drive her here. So my dad was like, I'll drive her. So oh, I get the chills thinking about it. Like it was just really scary because you know, I didn't know what, ew, I'm getting emotional. I didn't know what was gonna happen. And it's just a really scary feeling to not have control over like your own breath, to not just fucking breathe, dude. Like it's something so normal that we do, you know, like it's something that you really need, and like you don't realize it until you can't like do it. And it's just really scary. And those of you that know, like me and my family, know that I'm like super freaking close to my parents, especially my mom. So knowing that I was gonna be in the hospital by myself, like without anybody there, especially my mom, like was really, really scary. Whew. I'm so annoyed. So anyways, so my dad takes me to the hospital, and like the way that they're doing things, you know, is just so crazy because they really have to take precautions so that way, especially knowing like we had to tell them like I have it, I tested positive, so they take even more precautions so I don't infect anybody else that's there. So they like checked me in outside, like the nurse like came out and like was like 6 feet away from me asking me like all the questions, and then they had to take me in through an exit. I couldn't even go in through like the actual emergency waiting room, like it was like going in through the exit literally. So I go in, and they just took me into a room, asked me a few questions, hooked me up like to everything, and then like she started taking my vitals, and I told her the first thing that I was concerned about was my oxygen levels. And so she checked it. That was the first thing she checked. And she was like, you're at 97%, which is really, really good. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like that, hearing that was just like such a huge relief for me, because like even though I'm struggling, like somehow my body is working extra hard to get that oxygen inside of me, you know? So that was like such a relief. And so everything else, the rest of my vitals were really good, but we just had to wait to see what the doctor said. So then the doctor comes in, and basically she was just like, you know, with the way your numbers are, like your vitals, there's really no need for you to be here, especially since you're positive. We're just risking you being here and infecting somebody else. So she's like, right now you're okay. Like, unfortunately, this is the virus. Like, she was just straight up about it. She's like, this is what it is. This is what COVID-19 is. You can't breathe. You can't, you know, you're short of breath. Like, you're gonna get dizzy because you're not getting that oxygen at that time, like when you're moving, but you just have to, you know, stick through it and just, you know, keep walking. That's one thing that they recommended, that they have been recommending, is walking, moving around, like getting your lungs to expand, getting them to work, stretching up, going like this and opening up your lungs. Not to sleep on your back. Sleeping on your back is bad, and that's something that I do. I sleep like a dead person. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, so that's pretty much what she recommended. So luckily, thank God. I mean, I was thinking like, yeah, they were gonna have to hook me up with an oxygen machine and stuff like that, but thank God, since like I said, my body's like already working extra hard, it's somehow getting that oxygen inside, so it didn't even have to get that far. But I do have to monitor my oxygen levels to make sure that they don't go under 92, I believe she said. Then if they do, then I will have to be hospitalized, but I'm really praying that it doesn't get to that point. So far I am feeling better. I still, obviously, as you guys can see, struggle to breathe, but like she said, that's normal. So I'm trying not to freak out about it. I'm just like, okay, just breathe. But yeah, so thank God that I didn't have to, you know, go that far. But it is a very scary thing. Okay, so symptoms. I kind of went over some of them throughout this, but I'm gonna list them. But one thing that I will make clear that we have realized, and just so that way you guys are aware, nobody has the same symptoms. Nobody has just a particular set of symptoms. It's not, okay, so when my mom was trying to get tested, they didn't want to test her because she didn't meet the requirements, because she wasn't at that time short of breath, and you know, she didn't feel a tightness in her chest. So they were like, no, you don't have it, you don't need to get tested. So that's wrong, first of all, because my dad, who has had zero symptoms, zero till this day, okay, zero symptoms, and he has it, he was positive for it, which means he's just a carrier. So there could be a lot of people out there who haven't gotten tested just because they don't have symptoms, but they're carrying it and they don't even know. So that's what's even more scary about it, is that and that's why this is one thing real quick before I get into the symptoms. This is why it is so important for you to stay away and stay home from people, because you don't know who may or may not have it. Somebody who thinks they just have seasonal allergies can be carrying it and not even know it because they don't feel sick. So what's the need to get tested? But either way, that's why you should be in your house and they should be in their house. Like, stay in your lane, bro, please. Anyways, so yeah, I just want to make that very, very clear, just because I had certain symptoms and you feel that you may have something, you know, like, oh, you have a headache, like I had headaches, doesn't necessarily mean that you have it. Or just because you don't have it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the virus. So just making that very, very clear. So headaches was one. We had like horrible, like just uncomfortable headaches, like just pounding headaches. Sinus pressure, like you feel super congested all in your head. And I don't know if you guys could still hear mine. It was a lot worse before, but I sounded like I had a cold. Like I was just congested and I just sounded sick. But yeah, so congestion, obviously chest congestion, tightness in the chest. That's probably one of like the very end symptoms though. I wouldn't say that you start off with that. That's something that like comes with it later, including the shortness of breath. Body aches. You feel like you have the flu, or like I said, a cold, where like your body just aches to the touch and like you're just uncomfortable no matter where you move or what you do, like your body just aches. So body aches, chills, you get fever. Fever is something though, I will say, one of the biggest signs. Like if you do have a fever, I would highly recommend throwing that in there if you're trying to get tested, because that's one of like the big signs. That's something I know that everybody across the board gets, because at some point my dad did have fevers. That was, I think, the only thing that he got. But yeah, so what else? Oh, loss of appetite. You don't want to eat, but you have to eat. You got to get your nutrition in. But yeah, you like have no, like you don't get hungry at all. Like nothing is appealing to you, like nothing. You just don't want to eat at all. So loss of appetite. Also, one of the big things is loss of sense of taste and smell. So for the longest time, I am finally getting my taste and smell back, thank God, because that's the worst, to like crave something or to eat something and you can't even taste it. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. But yeah, so loss of your sense of taste and smell, that's really, really important too. My mom still, unfortunately, hasn't really gained her sense of taste or smell back yet. And she's had it longer than I have. So I really hope she gets that back soon. But yeah, that's another one of the symptoms that we got. What else? That's pretty much it, honestly. Those are really the only symptoms that we had. Oh, at some point, both of us, we were also like low-key sick to our stomach. Like, this might be TMI, but whatever, I'm gonna put it out there because it's freaking serious matter. We both had the runs at some point, and you do tend to get nauseous. Like, I get nauseous randomly. Like, I'll be eating something and then all of a sudden, like, I'm just like grossed out and I just feel so freaking sick. But it lasts just like a few seconds or a couple minutes, and then that's it, it goes away. We haven't, I don't think either one of us ever threw up. We did just feel nauseous and we did have the runs, but yeah, that was it. But yeah, I mean, those are pretty much the symptoms. Like I said, it's different. Not everything that I just named was listed if you look up the symptoms of coronavirus. So that's why I just want to make it known that don't go by what I say, don't go by what the newspaper says or what the news says. Like, go by what you feel. If you do not feel okay, then you need to call your doctor and just tell them, like, yo, I need to get tested. Like, just push it and push it and push it. Even though I wish it wasn't as hard to get tested as it is, because people should be able to just freely go and get tested to know. But unfortunately, you know, due to the circumstances and stuff, that's how it is. So, but if you do genuinely feel sick, I know I've been getting a lot of people who, you know, like, you just get scared because you have a stuffy nose or because you had a fever or whatever, like, or, you know, you have a cough, you know, like, oh my gosh, I have coronavirus. Like, I get it, you know, you get scared, but it's something very serious. And just like really keep an eye out on it to see, like, okay, am I really just sick or is this just in my head? You know, like, if it's lasting more than like 2 or 3 days, then I would recommend for you to call your doctor. But if you just like wake up one morning, you're like, oh, I have a tickle in my throat, like, go back to sleep, okay? You're fine. But yeah, so I just wanted to make this video to bring awareness to it, to share our story. It's just so fucking crazy, like, when I tell people or when they ask, you know, like, how all 3 of us literally have this virus. Like, it's so freaking crazy. I came here to get away from it, to be quarantined with my family, to stay safe with my family, and then here I have it. We all do. But anyways, yeah, so if you guys have any questions, any more questions, feel free to message me. I am so thankful to everyone who has been messaging me to check on me, messaging my mom to check on her, my mom's friends who have sent her little gift baskets of things to help all of us feel better. It's so much appreciated. Thank you. Just thank you so much to everyone who's been checking on us, everyone who's done anything for us, our family, my tia, Moni, the babies, you know, who have completely gone out of their way to make sure that we're okay, to bring us food, to cook for us, to run our errands for us, you know, everything. They've just been so freaking helpful, and I'm so thankful for them. But yeah, please guys, just please stay home if you can, you know, like, order things to get delivered to you, disinfect everything, and I'm talking like Walmart bags. Like, as soon as you bring them in the house, spray that shit with Lysol. Like, it's no joke. Stop hanging out with people, stop going to people's houses, stop having people come over. Like, dude, this is very serious, especially if you have kids. Like me, I'm 20, how old am I? I'm 26 years old. And yes, granted, I smoke, whatever, but still, like, I'm a pretty healthy person, you know, I'm used to working out every single day, like, and I'm struggling with this. So imagine a little baby. Like, why would you want to put your child in that position to hurt, to struggle, you know, like, and then if your kid ends up in the hospital and you can't be there with them, you know, God forbid that happens. Like, you guys have to think about that stuff. And honestly, again, that's something, and I put this on Facebook for those of you that don't have a Facebook. I never imagined myself catching this ever. Like, I, for some reason, thought I was invincible, you know, like, I kept, like I said, I was doing DoorDash. I was still going, picking up food, delivering it to people. I felt like I wanted to be that person to help other people. And not that I wasn't taking precautions, because I was, but I just felt like in my mind, I was like, it's not gonna happen to me, you know, like just a typical stupid, young, dumb person, you know? So please just take it serious. Like, stop thinking that it can't happen to you, because trust me, it can. So yeah, just please take precautions. And like I said, even if you're not feeling sick, like, still make sure that you're drinking your vitamin C. Like, stock up on that shit. um Vitamin C, hot stuff, like, keep disinfecting everything, even your sheets, like, bro, everything. But anyways, okay, this video has been way too long, but thank you guys for watching me. I hate that this is the video that I had to come out with on my channel after being MIA forever. But yeah, I will try. I do have one thing I will say that's not associated with the coronavirus, but that is associated with my channel. I do have a lot of footage that I need to post. I just haven't gotten around to editing it. So hopefully I can bring myself to edit it and have the energy to do it. But yeah, I just don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. But I will try my best to see you guys soon. Please stay safe, guys. I love you guys so, 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 so much. Thank you, guys. I love you guys. I already said that, but I love you guys. Okay, bye.